now is primarily I've been on the board of directors since 2000. You do 6-year terms. You're off for a year, and then I've been blessed that they've asked me back each time. I'm starting another term now as we speak. I just got back onto the board here now again for another 6-year term, and really that is just really being involved as far as knowing some of the ins and outs of the organization, some of the things they're dealing with behind the scenes. We get to help with that. We get to lend an ear, I should say, for Lowell, sounding board for things that he needs questions, and he has to go through the proper channels through a board of directors as well to have some things voted on and properly done for their charter for what they do. I've actually been over to Kigoma now 5 times since 1999, 99, 2004, 2009, 2014, and 2017. I made short-term mission trips to Kigoma, Tanzania, and each time I've gone, I've shot some video or taken photos, and we've tried to kind of create a little database of video and photos that we have for the ministry, and we've been able to utilize over the years here and there, different things like projects like this as well. And that's really been just a huge blessing to be able to use that little bit of my talent. Everybody's got a talent of some sort, and be able to use the video and photography background that I have to help the ministry has been phenomenal. My first time there, and I shot as much video as I could at that time, came back and put together a promotional video for the organization. Now that we're already going on 20 years old now with that, but they were able to send that out, and really again, when people see things visually and they see moving video, it has such a bigger impact than what just the slideshow or the newsletter that Lowell and Claudia had. That's all they'd ever sent out. And so when people were able to see that, it impacted them a lot more, and just got more and more people involved, and the increase in support was just phenomenal. And it's just another tool that you can utilize, obviously, as you know, to really boost the ministry. I think the heartbeat of Joy in the Harvest is really connecting with people there. One of the things that you see immediately is the people there have such an incredible love for Christ and joy in their heart. And you can see that in the way they worship and the way they go about things on a day-to-day basis. But it means even more to them when they see you coming from halfway around the world. They know that you've come a long ways. They know that you've spent much of your own money to be there in fellowship with them, and that means so much to them. And I've seen that with Lowell and Claudia and with Joy in the Harvest throughout the years. They work with everybody there. It's a very diverse community. The area in which they're in the western part of Tanzania, right on Lake Tanganyika, so they border with the Congo, they border with Burundi and Rwanda, are all within a fairly close proximity. And you've got people coming from all different directions. You'll hear French, you'll hear Arabic, you'll hear several different dialects with Swahili there, of course, English as well. So you've got all these people coming from different directions and different backgrounds, ethnically and religiously, and they work with everyone there. It is, in some ways, it's a tough situation a lot of times, and it's almost overwhelming for you to try and do it on your own. And I think Lowell realized that immediately, that you really need to work with other people and work with other denominations and work with other groups to make things happen. And they've done that. They have such an incredibly great standing in the community there with not only Christians but with Muslims that are there as well. And it's just amazing to see that. It's what really can happen when people open their hearts and open their minds and come together to try and solve problems and work together to solve some issues that are there. And it's been amazing to see that. I think for me, more so because I've been there 5 times and it's been spread out each time, so I've gotten to see that change from one trip to the next, to the next, to the next. Over the 20-year span, there's been such an incredible change, and for the better. And that's been amazing to see. And I think when we're in it, especially the missionaries that are there, they don't realize that from day to day. Their task and their work that they're doing each day sometimes is just, makes your head spin. Then we come in, and I've seen the concrete change and improvements over time, and sometimes it's hard for them to see that. I always liken that to the frog in the boiling pot of water, or it's slowly turning up the heat, and they don't realize it's getting hotter. I've seen the change from one point to the next, and it's been a good change. So they've really made an impact in a lot of people's lives there in so many ways. It's hard to really put a thumb on it. They have, over the years, they've shown the Jesus movie in villages in Swahili. They've passed out Bibles to refugee camps in the dialect, whether it was Tanzanians, a lot of the refugees from Burundi, from Congo, from Rwanda. The language is, it's Swahili, but there's 240 different dialects of Swahili across the continent. So you have all these different regional dialects as well. I will never forget being in one of the refugee camps with the group, and we were listening to a choir sing in a church, and Mwenge, who was Mwenge Muyombe, who's kind of their right-hand man there with the organization, he was sitting next to me, and I asked him what this group was singing. He kind of interpreted it, and then the next group got up, another choir got up and sang, and he says, I don't know what it is, it's Burundian Swahili. And it's that different from place to place. So it really makes a very big impact when you're able to give somebody a Bible in their own language and their own dialect. And it's really, I've seen them do that through that. And then the biggest thing right now is the fact that they've gotten Radio Joy off the ground, and they've got that running now, and they are able to reach way, way more people than they ever have before. It's one of those things that it was in the back of Lowell's mind for many years to try and create a radio station, and it's all come to fruition. It's taken some time, but it's come to fruition, and they're able to reach out now. They reach more than 2 million people around the entire Kigoma, Lake Tanganyika basin in that area, which is way, way more than they could have reached before that. I mean, they've planted churches, they've done all the other things here and there in different local areas, but this goes out to a very wide audience. I just wanted to say that with the radio station, some of the things they're doing, whether it be medical or just informational things they're doing, the music, they're just a wide range of things that they're doing to reach out to people and help people and get people information. And the radio station has been a huge blessing and just an incredible impact that they're having in that area. They have done a lot of seminars over the years. They have a community center building that our church in Naperville was very instrumental in helping get the funds for that, to get that built. So what they've done, they've utilized that building. They have pastor seminars. They have youth seminars in there. It's a very large building. They can fit 200, 300, 400 people in there. And they have invited a lot of local area people to come in. They've had people coming in from other areas as well, and it just kind of goes on and on with the things they've done. They've distributed Bibles in several different languages throughout the area, whether it be English and, of course, Swahili, but different dialects of Swahili for Burundian refugees, for Rwandan refugees, for Congolese refugees that have all streamed into Tanzania over the years with the conflicts that have gone on in their countries. And so they've really reached out, they've gotten the word, the gospel to a lot of people in a lot of different ways. We started this project years and years before that. One of the ladies in our church thought, hey, we're dealing with fishermen in fishing villages. Why don't we create little fishing packets? So we got bobbers and hooks and 100 feet of fishing line, and we put a little pamphlet in there about how Jesus loves fishermen. And we handed those out to fishing villages, and we've done that the last 3 trips we've done, about 500 of them, to pack them all, put them together. And you never know what seeds you're planting. You never know exactly what results are going to come from those things. So a year ago, one of the ladies who had gone with to Tanzania, she got hooked up with a family to teach them English, who are in our area now, who have been here. They've been relocated here. And one thing led to another. They're from Tanzania. Well, where in Tanzania? Kigoma. Kigoma? Are you kidding me? I was just in Kigoma last year. Come to find out that they were in the refugee camp that we had visited. And when we showed the son, the oldest son, the fishing kit, he goes, I have one of those. I mean, what an incredible small world. And it's just amazing the ways in which God works. And when we went back the last time, we went back to that refugee camp, and the mother of that family, her brother is a pastor in that camp in the Methodist Church. He came up and introduced himself. There are certainly a number of ways you can get involved, and not everybody's meant to go. I mean, that's one thing. Making a trip like that is not easy for everyone. Um, Prayer obviously is a huge thing. You pray for just about anything and everything there, for their ministry, for their workers, for the radio station, for the feeding program, for the programs and things that they do, the people that their lives that they're touching there in the community. Just prayer alone would be huge. Of course, financial support. There's so many things that they're doing, but it takes money. It's just like anything else, it takes money to do. And one of the things I think that really stands out for me, having seen it right from the very beginning, the very first time I went, was the incredible way in which they're stewards of what they've been given there. Joy in the Harvest is just incredible stewards of the monies that they've been given over the years. And the dollar, first of all, goes further there than it does here. The cost of living is different there. Inflation, that kind of thing, has gone up and up over the years. The very first time I went, the exchange rate was 700 to 1. Now it's over 2,300 to 1. So for every dollar, it's that many more shillings. So people are working harder and making less essentially per day over there. The average person in Tanzania makes about $1 a day or a little more than that nowadays. But they keep working harder and harder and making less and less. But in contrast, the American dollar then goes a little further there. So they're able to do a lot of things, make the dollar stretch, and able to do a lot of programs. And it's phenomenal to be able to see that in action. But it can't happen unless people do give some financial support. And that's one of those things that's always ongoing. It's not a thing that we like to talk about in the ministry and missions. You don't like to talk about those things per se, but you almost have to. And you have to find ways in which you get people to financially support as well. And of course, going over there, I mentioned when you go over there and you see the people, it means so much to them to know that you're coming halfway around the world to be with them as fellow Christians and spend that time of fellowship with them and worship with them. And it just means a lot in making those relationships. And of course, technology has made things so much easier as the years have gone by between email and Facebook and everything else. Now, social media, you can connect with folks over there now like you never could before. So that's another huge way in which you just can help. The radio station has been a huge benefit to the ministry and the organization in general. And like anything, though, it takes a lot of work to do it. And it's been, I think, a little more work than even what they considered. And their next goal is to go live. Right now, everything is essentially pre-recorded, and they play it, and they've got programs and everything that they've got throughout the day. But it still takes a lot of work, and certainly it takes more staff. They need to continue to grow with that, and the advertising. It's been a slow process, so prayers in that area would be much appreciated, and any support to the radio station is greatly appreciated as well. And that next step is to go live with programming and cover some things live and have actual, newscasts and broadcasters going and doing things more so. And so that's going to take a lot more work yet, but it's all a process, and is certainly the future looks bright, and it's exciting to see where the ministries come from, where it's headed, and all the things that are yet possible, but they're only possible through people like you and me. And getting involved and getting out there and doing things, whether it's locally, whether it's halfway around the world in Kigoma, Tanzania. I fell in love with the ministry, again, having heard about it from the very first date my wife and I went on, the fact that she's involved with missions within our church, then to meet Lowell and Claudia and to go see their ministry firsthand. Like I said, it was very life-changing for me, and for anybody who's gone over there. Since I've gone back now 5 times, the last 4, I've been the leader of the group. And most of the other people have never been there before, and it's just amazing to watch their eyes and watch their reactions to those same things. I know I looked like that the first time I went, and it just opens your eyes and opens your heart to what is possible and what's going on. It kind of gets us out of our little comfort zone here in America, because we're in our little comfort zone. We don't realize what we have and how good we have it a lot of times. And when you go see other people who have real struggles and who really need help, and that you can do something to help them, it's humbling. It's humbling to say the least. And I think that's part of the reason why I continue to be involved, because it's so much better to give than receive. And you feel that when you're there helping, you feel that when you're doing things to help the ministry here as well. And I know that it's going to a good cause. I know that it's going to, let me put it this way. Doing good deeds, we all do good deeds. We can all do good deeds. We don't have to be affiliated with an organization or even a church for that matter. But when you do it through the church, it's lasting. It's a different kind of thing. And doing it through their organization, their ministry, it makes such an incredible impact. And I always say, too, to people that I know where that dollar's going. I've seen it firsthand, and I know where it's going. And unfortunately, not every organization you can say that about. There's some organizations, that dollar you give, 90% of it goes to pay the overhead for this and that and all these other salaries. I know when I give a dollar where it exactly is going when I give it to Join the Harvest. I think, again, just the way in which they make the dollar stretch is something that isn't something that we normally see here. At different times, trips that I've had over there, each trip has had a different, there's been like one thing that really is impactful, one thing that really kind of tugs at your heartstrings while you're there. The destitute camp, the Camp Victory is what they call it now, seeing the folks there with leprosy who every day is a struggle, things that we take for granted here in America. That society is very physical, labor intensive. They don't have they're getting better and better with more mechanical things, but I finally saw a farm tractor for the first time just a few years ago. Everything was really more so done by hand, especially in the outlying areas. And when you're not physically able to do that, like some of the people who are in that camp who are missing a limb, who are blind, who have leprosy, it's the poorest of the poor. And to see their struggle is very tough to do. And just to know that Join the Harvest is helping them on a day-to-day basis has made such an incredible difference in their lives is just beyond description, just that alone. The Friday People program they do, we take for granted the social services we have here in our country. There is no United Way there. There is no Red Cross there, that type of thing per se. So there's no alternatives for a lot of people. And Join the Harvest started a program called their Friday People program, because on Fridays in the society there, it's legal to beg on Fridays. So those people who really are struggling would go into town on Friday to beg for whatever coins they could get. And so they started a program on Fridays for people to come to try and get some assistance. They basically come in, they get their name on a list, they come back the following week, they check out their story, they give their story and they check it out, and then they come back a third Friday and they usually are able to dole out a little bit of money. And in particular, there was one lady that was there one time when we were there. Her daughter had passed away from AIDS. AIDS is obviously, sub-Saharan Africa has had a huge effect on folks there. Her daughter had passed away from AIDS. The son-in-law had taken off, then he didn't want anything to do with the whole thing because of the stigma of it in their society, and left the grandmother with the 3 little kids. And grandmother was living in a mud hut, was probably no bigger than the hotel bed that you guys have, type of thing with the mud. The grass roof. And she basically just came asking to help fix her roof and maybe a little money for food. And Lowell said, we can do better than that. We can have a guy come fix your roof. We can get you some food, and we can also help. He'll come and help plant a little garden for you. We can get you started. And all that cost about $10. And that was going to feed them for basically the next couple months. And we go through a drive-through at any local restaurant, and you spend more than $10 in just one trip. It gives you a good indication of how far a dollar can go there as opposed to here. There's a lot of work that goes into going on a trip halfway around the world to Tanzania. To me, it's so much easier nowadays than it was years ago. Now it is more big planes than big. The planes used to get smaller and smaller as you went, and the travel was a little more arduous. But now it is primarily big commercial flights. It is a long time in an airplane. Some people that deters them, but nowadays everybody has a TV screen in front of them, and it's like watching on-demand TV at home all day long, except they bring you food. In my house, nobody brings me food per se, but they bring you food there at an airplane. But it is a long trip, so that deters some people. There is some expense to it as well. Most of it is the airfare anymore, but basically, if you go to Join the Harvest website, they have some information there as to some of the things you need to do to get yourself organized, to get a group from your church to go over and visit. They have guest houses there, so once you're there in Kigoma, you're taken very good care of. You actually stay in a very nice thing that I think, sorry, again, I'm going off in tangents here. One of the things that Lowell and Claudia figured out a long time ago was that to have people come out on the mission field with them. There are some missionaries wanted to give you the mission experience and would kind of put people through the ringer. And Lowell and Claudia are like, we don't even try to live that way. We're trying to, to be healthy and stay healthy and not do some things that people unfortunately have to do in some of those areas where they do fall ill. So they basically have created guest houses and created just a great atmosphere for you to come in there and to be in a safe, secure area when you're there and to be taken care of well, so that you can have a good experience in the mission field and go home and tell people about it. Because if you have a bad experience and you go home and tell everybody how sick you were. If you and your church are interested in going, you can go on Join the Harvest website. They have some information there as far as travel tips and different things you'll need to do. You can call me personally. I will help. I've helped other groups as well when they've gone and tried to advise them and guide them through a little bit of the process as well. The trip isn't as arduous nowadays as it was. It's just long commercial flights nowadays, not really small little planes in some areas like it used to be. There is some cost to it. There's a time commitment. There is the air travel. Sometimes is a little tough, but it's gotten so much better over the years, and it's just a life-changing experience. If you're able to do it, it's certainly worthwhile making that trip, and it will change your life, and you see what they do firsthand will make a big difference, and you can go back home to your church and tell other people and continue to get the word out and spread the gospel. When you're there, Lowell and Claudia Join the Harvest, they've set up guest houses specifically for guests that come in. They learned a long time ago that it was better to have guests have a good experience, and they've really gone out of their way to make you feel at home. The guest house are literally furnished with American stoves and refrigerators, and you feel like you're at home. As a matter of fact, one time I was there, we got Wi-Fi right there in the guest house, and it was instantaneous. My email there at the table, somebody at work thought I was at work. And I said, no, I can't come respond to that right now. But you almost feel like you are at home when you're there, and they've done such a great job of doing that, of building these guest houses in a secure location.
Hi, I'm Pastor Chuck Reish. I'm the executive producer at Horizon Media Studios. It's a 501c3 media ministry, and what we're doing is helping other ministries tell their story. Homeless shelters and children's homes, Bible colleges, seminaries, mission sending agencies. With your help, we can continue to help tell their story, to inspire the world, to shine their light, and let God get the glory for the work that's being done in advancing the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Thanks again for praying for us.